I'm not sure I've ever been as stressed or anxiety-filled over an opening title sequence as I was with Netflix's The Last Thing He Wanted. It was like a caffeined-up stenographer was typing facts all over the screen at random places and then erasing them even faster than they appeared. No joke, I had to stop, pause, and then rewind at least 5 times so that I didn't miss anything. It's the early 1980s, and a journalist gets tangled in her father's business, all while trying to uncover a government secret or possible government deception in foreign countries. Now, before I go any further, I want to tell you about a munchie that I discovered thanks to a friend. It is the Godiva Ganache Hearts. Now, these are dark chocolate, and I totally recommend the dark chocolate. They're not overly sweet. It has that ganache center, so it's just a little bit creamy, but oh, so good. They're totally bite-sized. It says on here that the serving size is 5 pieces. You know, you can eat all of them in one sitting. You're not going to go wrong. And the best part is, I believe they're pretty much available in any grocery store that you could go into. So, hey, if you're looking for something sweet, this is the way to go. And no, I'm not being sponsored at all by Godiva. I mean, hey, if you want to send me a ton of these, I will gladly eat them up. My doctor may not agree or be happy, but that's okay. I won't tell her. The Netflix original has a lot of good actors in there. We have Anne Hathaway, Rosie Perez, Willem Dafoe, Ben Affleck, Toby Jones, and Eddie Gathegi. Now, the acting is good in this, but Hathaway really carries the brunt of everything. I mean, she is the driving force in this. And really, she's the reason to watch. I mean, she's enjoyable on screen, and we get to see her just not necessarily in ways that we've always seen her, at least not happy-go-lucky. I think more towards like Les Mis, where she won her Oscar, where she's just kind of, I mean, she's raw and she's gritty and she's going through it. And I like that, and I appreciate that of her, that she's not just sticking to these cutesy little roles, that she's willing to just get dirty and do it. Willem Dafoe is great as her ailing dad also. But the funny thing is, I mean, he's very vague in his business dealings and what he talks about. So we don't know if we can actually trust him and trust what he's saying, especially not only because he's vague in what he talks about, but then he seems to be suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's as well. And so really, you have no idea. Is this guy telling the truth? Does he just not remember? Is he twisting facts because he really wants to? Is he involved in some kind of deep, nefarious thing? There's just a lot of mystery wrapped up in that character. This has the feel of an international espionage film. But the problem is, it doesn't really deliver that to us. And actually, it doesn't deliver us anything that makes a whole lot of sense. Like I said at the beginning, there's a lot of facts that are thrown up on the screen, and I had to literally pause it several times, then rewind because they would appear so quickly and then dump off. And it's setting up just kind of the narrative of who Anne Hathaway's character is. She's this journalist, and I believe at this time she's working for The Atlantic, a newspaper. And it is the early 80s, so there's not internet, there's none of that. She has to phone her stories in if she's overseas, then type them up or send them over the AP wire. She's an investigative journalist, and she gets embedded with guerrillas and just she gets dirty. And I liked that about her character. I liked that she was willing to just trudge in and do it and report on that. And you see time and time again how this is not an easy gig, and she is putting her life on the line. Problem is that the film just doesn't deliver a lot that makes sense. It's a very disjointed feel, almost like key points of dialogue and action were omitted all throughout the film. If I zoom out to the 30,000 foot level, I can kind of tell what they were trying to say and what they were trying to do with this. The unfortunate part is, though, the story just isn't compelling, and it's not clever either. It's just very clunky. Now, Anne Hathaway, like I said, is fantastic in this. The rest of the cast is really good, too. And the movie doesn't suffer because of their acting. It suffers because of the story and how it was put together. Now, I'm not familiar with the source material. It's based off of a novel by Joan Didion. Now, the novel could be amazing, and the story in that could be awesome because it has just a lot of time to tell all of the details. Now, maybe not. Maybe it's just totally disjointed as well, and this movie is just a pure reflection of that. Either way, though, what we watched on Netflix is just not very good. And no matter how good the acting is, it just can't make up for lack of story or for very clunky and confusing and just not well executed story. There's no sex, but some nudity, a bunch of profanity, and a lot of violence and some really gruesome imagery. I give The Last Thing He Wanted 2 out of 5 couches. Are there any good geopolitical films that you can recommend? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.